From next week, so-called income management will be rolled out to 5 suburban centres across Australia. It's a controversial program that quarantines up to 70% of welfare payments for some people. It first started in the Northern Territory intervention. The money can then only be used at approved stores for clothes, food, health and household items. Critics claim it stigmatises those in the program, but a voluntary version of the scheme running in Western Australia is making some big inroads. Bronwyn Herbert reports.
Wintry, wet weather wasn't enough to wash out these protests in Sydney's southwest.
Stop the intervention! We don't want no basics cards!
This disparate group is fighting a divisive issue, the extension of income management from the Northern Territory all the way to the suburbs.
It's not on. It's the Centrelink who's managing the money. Here's your basic card, just like the welfare reform back in the 1950s, 40s and 60s.
I don't ever want to come off it. I reckon it's the best thing they've ever done.
The federal government has handpicked 5 unemployment hotspots around Australia to roll out the scheme. Selected welfare recipients from Bankstown in New South Wales, Logan and Rockhampton in Queensland, Shepparton in Victoria and Playford in South Australia will be income managed.
Just put it across there.
Between 50 and 70% of Centrelink payments will be withheld for a so-called basics card. The card can then only be used to buy key household goods at government-approved stores.
It's an additional tool to help families better manage their money in the interests of their children, to make sure that welfare payments are spent on the essentials of life.
In the highly multicultural suburb of Bankstown, Muslim mother of 4 Rebecca Kay is leading a street-side campaign against the basics card.
So no halal, no Abu Salim, no independent grocers, only Woolworths, Coles, Big W.
Are you on any kind of welfare payment? You're working?
It's just Centrelink payment.
Yeah.
This policy is no good. Breaks my heart to think that the government can do that, you know, go back and treat people like that.
This guy's got a petition up.
The Commonwealth's peak welfare agency, Centrelink, is managing potential clients for the program.
There's up to about 1,000 a year, but that's just for, budgeting purposes. But in terms of how many, we don't know.
Centrelink's manager in Bankstown says the program will be rolled out to 3 distinct groups.
One is people referred by the Child Protection Authorities, and that's from the state government, and people that are vulnerable, that's made assessed by a Centrelink social worker. So we don't have anyone.
What's the third category?
The third one is voluntary.
Opposition to income management has grown to the point that a national coalition of community, welfare and religious bodies has funded this newspaper advertisement. But Federal Minister Jenny Macklin says evaluations have shown income management is working.
We've had it now operating for a few years. We know that it's helpful. The individual stories are very positive.
The new program is a hybrid, bringing together elements from the Northern Territory experience, where the program has been going for 5 years, as well as a modified scheme rolled out in Western Australia 3 years ago. The state and territory schemes have had vastly different results and reactions. Anger and resentment reigns in the Northern Territory over the micromanagement of welfare payments.
This welfare system is like basic card, and the parents cannot even manage their own money. It's the Centrelink that's managing the money. Destroy our self-determination.
George Pascoe is from Maningrida, in the heart of Arnhem Land. He says cash is king in many Indigenous communities, and many pool their money to pay for big items.
Basic card has stopped individual like me to manage. I saved up enough money for my grandchildren and my brother's sons to continue their schooling. Today we can't do that anymore. We can't. It's all because of the income management.
Some financial counselling and saving incentives are available in the Territory, but it's not widespread. In Western Australia, it's a vastly different form of income management. Only those on welfare who authorities identify as struggling to provide for their children are forced onto the program. Others can volunteer to join.
What I've found is once they start working with us, they're really happy that they're on income management, and quite a lot that were on compulsory, when they're actually taken off of compulsory and there's no more DCP intervention, they go into voluntary. They do not come off of the program.
Well, I've got those bonuses coming in soon.
Clients like widow Karen Tremaine, who's on a disability pension. She's one of 1,000 welfare recipients in WA who volunteered to get involved.
Somewhere I had to call up the RAC. All I was worried about was my kids wanting me to spend my money on them all the time, my depression, because with that I couldn't say no.
Karen Tremaine says income management has allowed her to take control of the mortgage on her home at Balladura in Perth's north, which has provided stability for her young family.
I wouldn't be in the situation that I am in now. I would have lost my house, and my kids and I would probably be on the streets.
We think that the imposition of income management is something which has the potential to make that person's life harder, to make that person's life worse.
I really hate income management. You got to be on it, on the basic card, whether you like it or not.
When you have to sit on the end of the phone to transfer the money from your income management account into your basics card, or to beg them to please allow you to get a cheque to go to Jeans West, which doesn't accept the basic card.
The basic card feels like a punishment thing.
Paddy Gibson has interviewed hundreds of mainly Indigenous families in the Northern Territory. What he's found has been enough to turn this academic into an activist.
There's no evidence that there's less gambling in the Northern Territory. There's no evidence that there's less drinking in the Northern Territory. Actually, a lot of the communities that I talk to believe that there is more alcoholism now.
The program's success relies on the support of the states, but so far only New South Wales and Queensland are on board. The federal government says if successful, it will look to expand the program far beyond the 5 trial sites.
All I can say is if you're going to knock it, how about trying it first before you turn around and knock something that you know nothing about?
Bronwyn Herbert with that report.